Hello Wolfpack, back here on Bitcoin. Got a Bitcoin video today, and we're going to be talking about the situation on Bitcoin in regards to the ascending triangle formation it has in regards to the RSI. We've also got the weekly chart and the 3-day chart and then the hourly chart as well. Lots to look at in this video as we approach the critical zone that I've been talking about basically endlessly on Bitcoin for quite an extensive period of time now, and that zone is the 42.5k region. We talk about that for weeks, and then obviously our invalidation point for our current prediction. For those of you who don't know, my current prediction on Bitcoin, let me remove these side tabs here. My current prediction on Bitcoin is we're going to be heading down towards the 200-week SMA. Okay, but my invalidation point for that prediction, which is the zone in which I admit my prediction was wrong, is going to be the 50-week SMA. So getting above the 50-week, which is currently at 46.2k, so getting above that and closing above it would be reason for me to believe that, hey, maybe I should be reconsidering my prediction. Until that point, everything is going just as planned. How do I know that? Well, I know that given the fact that basically the 200-week SMA is the bottom of every single bear market cycle we have, and also every single macro low we have. We had a bottom here. We had two bottoms here, actually. We had one starting in around June 2015, and then one later in the year in August or September. So there's two, there's three here, there's four, okay? So four separate bottoms, macro bottoms on the 200-week in the period of Bitcoin, in the amount of time Bitcoin has been around. We've never actually closed a weekly candle below the 200-week ever, right? It hasn't happened before. And so, you know, that's something that's quite interesting. That's worth considering when you're talking about something like this. And I reckon if I went to a different chart like the BLX, we could probably get a better example of this. And in fact, we can see just looking at the BLX here that it wasn't actually four bottoms. It's actually five bottoms. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then also these bottoms here. So five bottoms on the 200-week SMA. So, you know, pretty major support zone, and for those of you who say, oh, we can't go that low again, we can't go to, you know, 24k again, which is where I think it's going to be at when we get there. Well, there's your proof, right? We've done it 5 times in the past. Why can't we do it again? All right, and it wouldn't even take us below the 2017 lows. A lot of people would say we're not going below the highs in 2017. Yeah, well, 24k wouldn't be below the highs in 2017. So there's no logical reason I can see as to why that cannot happen, especially when you consider the fact that, well, that was pretty clearly the bull market top. For those of you who don't agree, I encourage you to take a look at the 4-year cycle theory. We'll take a look at it right now, just briefly. So the 4-year cycle theory, and a lot of people think this doesn't exist anymore. I would beg to differ. We can see 1,400 days from bottom to bottom and bottom to bottom, and then 1,400 days from top to top and top to top. Then we also have these yellow rectangles, which is around 400 days. That's predicting November, and the 1,400 is predicting November as well. And then from bottom to top and bottom to top, exactly 1,064 days. So you can see that maybe not by percentage, but by date ranges and time periods, the 4-year cycle theory has been playing out on Bitcoin since 2014, 2013. In fact, it's been playing out exactly to the day perfectly in terms of bottom to top and bottom to top. All right, so to say that the 4-year cycle theory doesn't exist anymore is just simply incorrect, well, according to my analysis at least. And if someone wants to try to disagree with me on that, you can go ahead, but I think that's pretty compelling. I don't think there's really any argument you can make against that. But as of right now, why are we bouncing on Bitcoin? Well, it's pretty clear, right? Where we're on the 200 SMA on the 3-day chart. We've bottomed out on this for 2 months straight. Yeah, we're seeing some rallies off of it, which is good to see. What you'll notice, though, is that we did the same thing in 2018. 2018, we bottomed out on the 200 on the 3-day for a period of like almost, well, from June to November. So, you know, almost 6 months, 5 months there. And, you know, if you want to be very, close and concise about it, you could say 3 months. And we were bouncing between both the 200 and the 50, which is what we're kind of doing right now. We haven't quite reached the 50 yet, but, you know, it wouldn't be odd to see the 50 being reached on Bitcoin here. And what you can notice as well is that when these lines finally crossed, when they finally connected, we saw a crash on Bitcoin. Okay, we saw a crash when they finally came together, finally connected. We saw a crash on Bitcoin. Now, if that was to happen again, that crash would be incoming pretty shortly. I mean, I don't know how exactly this angle of trajectory is going to play out, but it could be as soon as like June or something like that, or maybe even late May. We could be seeing that crash on Bitcoin when those things connect. And some people would say, well, how can you be so sure that it's going to play out just like 2018? Because we're obviously in a different market than what we were in 2018. Well, all I need to do to kind of throw that statement out the window is look at this fractal here. Let's bring up a fractal on Bitcoin. and apply it to current prices and see really how different it actually is from 2018. Let's take a look here. So this is a fractal, as you just saw. I just tore directly from that period of time in 2018, and you can see the price action is virtually identical to that of 2018. And so saying that it's different to 2018, yeah, I mean, obviously in terms of fundamentals it's different, but in terms of price action, everything so far has proven to be the same. So why would it not be the same continuing from this point onwards? But getting into some new information on Bitcoin, other than all of that, we can head into, for example, something like the hourly chart and the daily chart. Now, the daily chart is quite interesting for Bitcoin because this is definitely where we determine the short-term direction. And I've said it in the last video, I'll say it again now. The RSI is going to determine the short-term direction for Bitcoin. Okay, the RSI is in a symmetrical triangle formation. As you can see, it's been forming that since the top, and it's been forming that as well since the January lows. And that's coming together, and we're converging in a symmetrical triangle formation. Now, this RSI is going to break to the upside of a downside before Bitcoin is able to break out of this yellow ascending triangle formation that I have drawn on the screen there. Okay, so wherever this RSI goes, Bitcoin will go. What does it suggest right now? It suggests we can go a little bit higher to the top and then probably get rejected, okay? Or it suggests we break out, but the point is we have a little bit more leadway to move, right, according to the RSI. And where would that bring us? Well, it would bring us, that little bit more leeway would bring us straight to 42.5k. Okay, what is important about 42.5k? Very clear. 42.5k, as you can see on this red line, is a major resistance level and support level, currently acting as resistance, that we've held throughout 2020. We've tested that rough region multiple times, and all of which have led to a bounce or rejection. We've very rarely broken through that region. When we have broken through, we don't really drop below it again until we do, and then there's a big crash, okay, or a big pump. As you can see, when we broke 42.5k here, massive pump. Break it here, massive dump. Break it here, massive pump. Break it here, massive dump. Okay, it's quite simple. It's quite simple. When we break that, something happens. When we reject off of it, something happens, and both of which are quite considerable to the upside of a downside. So it's a major region for Bitcoin. And then on top of that, so obviously that's very strong resistance. On top of that, what we have clearly on Bitcoin, let me change the color of this quickly. What we have on Bitcoin is 3 separate blue uptrending and downtrending diagonal lines, all of which are very relevant, especially this one stemming from November, coming through these lows here. It's very relevant, and all of which are currently rejecting Bitcoin, except for one which we've just closed above, which is great to see. So now we have 2 major diagonal lines rejecting Bitcoin. As you can see, we wicked straight up to it, rejected off of it, and closed in between, as well as 42.5k. We're slowly making our way through that resistance, which is great to see, because again, I want Bitcoin to pump. Just because I'm predicting it to go down, it doesn't mean I don't want it to go up. Of course I do. So it's great to see we've broken through one, but what I'm saying is be cautious, because we've still got 2 more to go, as well as a major macro resistance. So it's very, very early to call this a renewal of a trend, right? It's not a renewal of a trend as of yet at all. And this is why I'm sticking by what I said before. On the weekly chart, in order to be bullish again on Bitcoin, we need to be flipping the 50-week SMA, and that would take us above this red box. It would take us to the 46 to 47k region, okay? We need to be getting there in order to be bullish on Bitcoin again. Just to give you an idea of how prominent these downtrending and uptrending blue lines actually are, we can see that, well, this lower downtrending line that we've just taken acted as resistance on multiple occasions, right? These aren't just made up lines. They genuinely do reject the price. Okay, I'm circling some things here in which they genuinely do reject the price. You can see that quite clearly. And then even if we scroll all the way back, we can see them continue to do so. Let me scroll all the way back here. And we can see even up here in these regions here, they actively reject the price, right? These are not things we break easily. This whole period we were below this uptrending line, right? We're still rejecting from. And then you see over here, and as well, this is just a starting point that is made off the daily candle closes. So it's not going to be perfect on the hourly chart, but you get the point. These are very prominent lines, and they're not something to be messed around with. They're not something to buy into. You need to wait for them to be flipped. Okay, that's the reality of the situation on Bitcoin. And at the moment, we haven't flipped them yet. So wait, right? What I would say is that the volume right now is suggesting that this move isn't very strong. Okay, and people would disagree with me on that. I'm just telling you the facts of the situation based on the volume. It doesn't suggest to me that this move is very strong. Why is that? Well, we're seeing descending volume, okay? We have this upwards trend, and the first few days of this upwards trend were all well and good. We saw ascending volume, which means more and more people are progressively buying into Bitcoin as it moves upwards. They're getting convinced that a rally is actually beginning again. But now we have seen 3 consecutive candles in this upwards trend without forming a lower low of decreasing volume, which means that the higher we go past like 41k, the less confident people are that this trend will continue. Why is that? Well, because we're heading into the major resistance zone at 42.5k and all of these blue lines, right? The volume is decreasing right now. We're heading into the weekend. I would say it is more likely than not that we reject from this zone at the moment, but it's hard to say for sure. Okay, Bitcoin is very much in a consolidation pattern in which we don't really have a clear direction at this point in time. Again, I would say it's more likely we reject from this region, but again, we can't say for sure. We need to be looking at the RSI. Once the RSI makes a decision, that's pretty much going to lock in the decision for Bitcoin in the short term at least. So that's what we're looking at for Bitcoin right now. Interesting to see us take back some resistance in form of that blue downtrending line, but it's really not enough to try and change our opinions on Bitcoin. It's really not enough to be bullish again or bearish again or whatever. We need to be neutral in the short term, and in the long term, there's no evidence to suggest at this point in time that we should be bullish and hence bearish in the long term. So that's the logical standpoint on Bitcoin from my point of view. Neutral in the short term, bearish in the long term until proven otherwise. That's what I'm doing right now. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.